Hey everyone, it's Dan, and today we're going to replace the brake lever on this BMW G310R. Now the bad news is I dropped my wife's bike, which scuffed up the bar end, the brake lever, and also the crash bar. So this is the second video in the series of how to repair all this crash damage. I've already taken care of the bar ends, and now it's time to replace the brake lever. I'm going to go with an aftermarket brake lever instead of a BMW original part. This is going to be a Puig, which actually comes with two parts, so you need to buy two components for it. The first one is the actual brake lever. I decided to go with a shorty, which is a slightly shorter version of the original one. I like that better. I usually use two-finger braking. It's also less likely to get scuffed up or broken if the bike ever falls over. So in addition to the brake lever, for this specific motorcycle installation, you will also need an adapter for it. So this part is generic. This part is specific to the motorcycle model. That way you can use the same brake levers with a variety of different motorcycles. So this job's about a 1 out of 5 in terms of difficulty. It shouldn't take you more than a few minutes to finish. The original brake lever is held in place with a bolt that goes through the master cylinder. So it's a bolt on the top and a lock nut on the bottom. Both the bolt and the lock nut are 10 millimeters. So I'm going to need to use two 10 millimeter wrenches. In my case, I'll just use two box wrenches. The replacement lever has slightly different dimensions. So the top of it is a hex bit. So it's a 4 millimeter hex bit that fits into the top of it. And then the bottom of it is an 8 millimeter lock nut. So the first thing we'll do is remove the original brake lever. So I'll use my box wrenches here. I'll hold the top in place, and then I will loosen the bottom. So make sure that you don't lose any of these parts. You will need to reuse them in the new installation. And the original brake lever just slides right out. Now you want to be careful not to damage or bend the momentary switch that's over here. This is what actually triggers your brake light. So now that you've got the original brake lever off, the next step will be to install the adapter. Now the adapter is going to fit onto the master cylinder just like this. So there's a little opening on this side, which will accept the plunger that goes into the master. And then the back end of it is what's actually going to actuate the brake lever switch. I do want to put a little bit of grease on the top and on the bottom of this guy. And then carefully just slide it into place. And then I'm going to go ahead and reuse the original bolt. So slide it from the top. Put some grease on this guy as well. Slide it from the top down. Now you may need to play around with the adapter over here to make sure that it lines the threads up. And then gently screw it in. So with this guy, you really want to make sure that you don't force this nut into place. It will fit, you just need to be careful to align it properly. If you find yourself forcing it or needing to use a wrench, stop, back out, and try again. If you force it, you're going to strip the threads. So start it by hand. I'm confident it's in right now. So I'll go ahead and just tighten it here. Okay, so everything is operating properly. And then the lock nut, you don't need to use any thread locker on this guy. So start it by hand. Okay, so this guy does not need to be super tight. Make sure that you don't over tighten it or it's going to damage the threads. So now that the adapter is in place, the next step is going to be to install the brake lever onto the adapter. So we'll remove the nut that comes on the lever. Now be careful, there's a little washer over here, so we don't want to drop that guy. And there's also a bushing that's in place here. So I'll go ahead and put some grease on it. So just on the outside of the bushing, we'll slide that into the hole in the adapter so that'll stay in place. So the lever comes with a little spring which goes right between the brake lever and the adapter. It's there to allow you to adjust the distance of the brake lever from the actual handlebar. So as you pull this guy inside, be careful to align it. It's going to go right into the notch here. And then we'll slide the bolt from the top down. Okay, so it should slide right in. If you're forcing it, you're not doing it right. So don't force any of this. And then from the bottom, we have the little washer and the lock nut. So start this guy by hand. And then we're going to use the 4mm hex bit and the 8mm box wrench to tighten the guy up. So just like with the adapter, be careful not to over tighten the threads. Both of them have a lock nut on the bottom, so they should not vibrate free over time. I did get the adjustable model of the brake lever. I like these a lot because they allow you to adjust the distance between the brake lever and the actual handlebar. So the way that you do that is you push this guy forward and then spin it around. So now it's this distance. If you push it forward, spin it all the way around, then it's farther out. So this allows you to control how close the brake is from the handlebar. Now, if your bike ever falls over, there's a good chance that either the brake lever or the clutch lever are going to hit the ground. If that happens, a lot of times they'll actually rotate around the handlebar and either end up being too high or too low. So there's an easy fix for this, and that's the adjustment I'm going to make next as the final step. In my case, the brake lever is a little bit lower than where I want it to be. All you need to do is loosen the two bolts over here. So on this bike, they are 8mm. So they'll come off nice and easily, and then just slightly raise up the brake lever so that it's level with the clutch lever. And then once you have it in place, tighten the bolts again. Now, make sure that you don't over-tighten them. You do want this to be able to move if there's a lot of impact, because it makes it a lot less likely for the lever to actually break off. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and keep an eye out for the next video in the series where we're going to try to repair the scuffed up damage on these crash bars. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.